Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast. It's rare that I release a review on the day of something's, release. But today, Torchwood release number 90, Reflect, has come out. And I kind of just wanted to talk to you about it immediately. Because, it's got Ace and Mr. Colchester on the front. And a cat, which I'm convinced doesn't actually appear in the story. But that's fine, because it's a nice image. It looks a bit Bond villainy, and that's great. Okay, so I want to cover I don't want to give away any spoilers, because I'm not a monster, and I do actually want you to listen to this, because it's bloody marvellous. Right, and that's probably the quote you can use elsewhere. Okay. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. Okay? We get that. We know where that's a quote from. Christmas is a time for ghost stories. Everyone knows that. But it's also a time to reflect on the past, consider the present, and muse on where we might be in the future. Dorothy, McShane, and St. John Colchester-Price have gathered to tell each other and you at home 4 stories of horror and hope and spirits and sadness. It's for the longest night of the year, and the lady in green waits. Okay, so that's what you've got. Now, we've got something similar in the Torchwood canon, but let's just look at it. As we speak right now, we're basically a week away from Christmas, and Christmas has become a time for ghost stories, more so than Halloween. Halloween's all about your jump scares, but ghost stories, they belong in your solstice, in your darkest, longest night. Yeah? And, of course, we've got the whole Muppets Christmas Carol thing. Oh, yeah. Keep the Muppets Christmas Carol in mind, especially around Christmas when you download something, but we'll come back to that. Because the Muppets Christmas Carol is actually referenced quite a number of times here in this story, which is brilliant, because that means the Muppets exist in the Doctor Who universe, and that makes me a very happy man. But that's not important right now. What does it really matter is that we've got the 2 of my all-time favourite characters telling ghost stories around Christmas, and this is going to become one of your favourites, okay? Because these stories are told in character, and they are told with passion, and they are incredibly moving. Okay, first one is Ace telling a story about how she meets a ghost in the British Museum. And she's just been with the doctor, and she's kind of wandered off from him when the British Museum is just about to open. Okay, you've got that story. Something happens that affects, obviously, story number 4, but you're going to get round to that one. These are all interlocked. But it's the second story, the one told by Paul Clayton, that A, demonstrates that he's one of the greatest actors of his generation. B, gives you an insight into his entire characterization, his entire life, and how he first interacts with Torchwood, and the world he was growing up in and was part of, and fits in with everything, and gives you such an insight. It's one of the most incredible bits of storytelling and performance of the year coming from Big Finish. I'm not underestimating that. Out of the whole thing, this second story is just moving, passionate, and haunting. And it will come back, and it will sit in the back of your head, and it will just be something special. To be fair, this entire box set is pretty special. And then you've got the third story, which again is Ace telling a story. But there's flick images, there's moments where you think, are they talking directly to me at home? Or are they talking to another character who isn't there? And it's really nicely done because you're just buying into it. It's as if you're there with them sharing this time, this pre-Christmas Eve, this solstice storytelling. And don't ask me to say that without lisping again. And so on. So they take turns. There are 4 stories happening here. And it is a thing of beauty. Because these 2 characters have appeared in, 3, perhaps 4 stories together. And it is proof that Ace isn't part of Torchwood. But oh my God, does she work with them and against them and towards them and away from them. But she's definitely 100% in this universe. And it works so well. Because let's face it, you've got Martha appearing here and you've got Ace. And you know what? I think it might be time for Janet. Yes, let's have Janet Fielding in this as well. After she's done next March's Ace River combo story, let's have Janet in Torchwood. Now that's something I could really get on board with. Okay, so what I'm saying is that this is something you need to download now. Something you need to listen to now, because let's face it, after Christmas you're just in that slump and you really don't want something that's depressing or haunting, because this is the balance with Christmas. Christmas will cheer you up when you've had the ghost stories in your head. You don't want these in January, you want them now. So do it now. I'll let you hear the trailer, because as far as I'm concerned, this is an absolute gem of the Torchwood range, and I love this pairing, but I do want them to appear with other Torchwood characters as well. Although they work superbly together, they're always very self-contained tales, and I miss the big modern Torchwood thrusting box sets, but they were very dark. Perhaps, well, I know Dorothy McShane rather than Ace could cope with those. But do I really want to subject her to that? I don't know. I've got such a soft spot for Ace as a character from my entire life. But that's another story. What I'm saying is, for this story, 4 ghost stories told directly to you in your ears. Don't listen to them while you're distracted doing something else. Seriously, they will demand your attention. Just give them that. Perhaps on not a family trip. Don't listen to them as a family trip, but listen to them when you're going somewhere, and they will take you on a journey. And as I said, the Colchester second tale, oh my God, it's just wonderful. Right, here's the trailer. As always, decide for yourself. Don't just take my word. Merry Christmas, and be seeing you.
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright.
From Big Finish Productions.
Torchwood. Reflect.
Christmas. A time for ghost stories. I believe we decided that you would go first.
I believe we did, Mr. Colchester. I hope you're sitting comfortably. We turn to look at the glass case on our right. It's slowly starting to steam up, as if someone is breathing on it from the inside.
That's when I saw him again. The man with the changing face. The neon lit up his face as the face itself flickered and changed.
My reflection asked me my greatest fear. I replied, my greatest fear is what is to come. My reflection smiled at me and said, you're lying.
The winter solstice is the longest night of the year. Back in the day, it was believed to be the time when the barrier between the living and the dead was at its thinnest.
Such things.
Big Finish, for the love of stories.
Silent
Are you all right, Miss McShane?
Is she behind me?
Silent night, holy night, all is calm, all is bright.
From Big Finish Productions.
Torchwood. Reflect.
Christmas. A time for ghost stories. I believe we decided that you would go first.
I believe we did, Mr. Colchester. I hope you're sitting comfortably. We turn to look at the glass case on our right. It's slowly starting to steam up, as if someone is breathing on it from the inside.
That's when I saw him again. The man with the changing face. The neon lit up his face as the face itself flickered and changed.
My reflection asked me my greatest fear. I replied, my greatest fear is what is to come. My reflection smiled at me and said, you're lying.
The winter solstice is the longest night of the year. Back in the day, it was believed to be the time when the barrier between the living and the dead was at its thinnest.
Such things.
Big Finish for the love of stories.
Silent night.
Are you all right, Miss McShane?
Is she behind me?